Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back once more to some more Friday Night Faceit action. We just had some quickness going on in South America. FA Overwatch takes down Element Heaven 3-0 to get a fantastic start to their season. But now we head over to North America where we'll be seeing Amplify take on Nightmare. And hey, I mean, both these teams, these players have kind of had their ups and downs a little bit here, especially the Amplify squad, but they've made it back into the Masters tier. They are looking good right out the gate here, secured a 3-0 win to start out the season. For this Nightmare squad, though, this is their first match in the Masters division, but to be fair, it is an entirely stacked roster, and I'm excited to see what they can do down here.
Yeah, I mean, you just look down that roster there for Nightmare. ASC Design, Rocket, Chopper, Painkiller, Luke Mino, and then you have even some great members on the bench, Azraf, Solsei, Enyon. I mean, they are a really, really stacked team, but let's focus on Amplify here for a moment, because these are a lot of people that we have seen in this Faceit League Masters here for a while. J-Man and Ewan being the ones you have seen a decent amount here. They were on Shikigami last season, which, to be fair, struggled. That Shikigami, well, they no longer exist. The Shikigami that is here in the Masters here this season is actually Midori, for the most part. But J-Man, me and you talked about a lot behind in private that J-Man was not the problem on that team. J-Man might have been the standout from that team. But then you still have players like Gap, Crazy Cat on this team. Garchomp is on this team. I mean, this Amplify team, even though they had their struggles last season, they have a very, very strong roster coming into this season. And like you said, already having that one win gives them a lot of confidence going into this game tonight against maybe one of the better teams in this tier at the moment.
Now, 100%, this is honestly, this is a big test here for Amplify, but at the same time, it is going to be a test for Nightmare as well, because obviously these players are seasoned. They have done a lot in their time here, but they also need to come together and create some consistency out the gate against a proven Amplify squad. And you said it, the amount of experience these players have had, not only just here in Faceit Master, but also a couple of these players, up in actual OWCS. I mean, Crazy Cat, first one that comes to mind when you think about it. I'm excited to see what they can do. J-Man, like I said, being on that squad now is fantastic. I can't wait to see how that goes down. But at the moment, we're just trying to figure out where we're going on this first one. It is going to be Ilios, so we just got to decide the sides, and then our first bans.
Hey, we talked about a little bit what we kind of expected to see in South America. It seems like they really favor Busan for the most part because they like playing a little bit more of these kind of divey styles. But in NA, and I feel like a lot of the other regions, you're going to see a lot of teams gravitate back towards Ilios. I mean, you're seeing a lot right now in OWCS. It's basically the starting map there because, again, you could play dive, but a lot of times you could still play maybe what is considered to be one of the meta tanks at the moment with Zarya, unless you see it banned out here. Looks like, though, Amplify is going to have the first ban here. And, again, coming up in here to North America, are we going to see a D.Va ban like we saw in South America? I definitely think we could. I think you could see teams try to get rid of something like a Ramatra, if that will really allow that Zarya to play. Or you could just go very, very safe and get rid of maybe a support hero. Because I feel like if you're looking for safe bans out of the gate, just banning out a Lucio, a Kiri, a Juno is always a safe bet.
It's always a really safe bet. That Lucio has been the most consistent safe bet we've seen so far, and honestly, it wouldn't surprise me if that was the case here. But Amplify, I mean, eventually Zarya is going to come through, which, to be fair, that is a fair ban. Zarya has been getting a lot of playtime in North America. You've seen it in OWCS just this weekend so far, get a very big amount of playtime. But we'll see what the situation is, as I thought Amplify picked first map already. Am I crazy?
Okay. Apparently we're going to Busan.
Well, all right. Whatever works. You know what? They hit that.
Yeah.
They hit the recall.
Yeah. The problem. There's small problems here and there. But okay. So if we're heading to Busan, I mean, we could see what we saw back in South America, where D.Va gets banned out. But I could still see Zarya being banned out here. Again, Zarya, I think, finds a lot of value on any of the maps, especially with with the minor perk where you can get the 75% more knockback from your secondary shot, which you see a lot of players use this weekend to great success at the mouse sticky situations here. But again, Busan is going to be a map pick here unless it changes again. Amplify will have first ban. Do we see the D.Va come out here? That's going to be the thing. Or do we just go back down that same line of reasoning? We went with supports. Wu Yang was the one we didn't mention. I feel like we're seeing Wu Yang being banned out a little bit more, especially the Stars series.
Yeah, no, 100%. We'll see what the situation is, though, as Amplify taking their turn to vote, taking their sweet time before. Remember, that timer went all the way down last time, but Lucio is the first ban. Color me surprised, X.
Yeah, I mean, hey, almost kind of what we saw back in South America. D.Va was the first ban there, but we ended up finding out that the second ban was a Lucio. So now Nightmare has this opportunity to, do they ban out a DPS here? Do they ban out a tank? Again, I feel like tank is always safe, but if you know there's someone on the other side who might be a problem, it might be a problem maybe on hit scans, like what we kind of expect J-Man to be. You could really see them go after them. Ashe has been really strong here, really coming back into the meta. You're seeing a lot this weekend, and you're starting to see a lot of teams here in North America really play her. Cassie, Juno, not Juno, Freya are really a lot of other good ones. Widow could be one you see here because long sightlines, especially on downtown, and I forget what the name of the map with the drum is called, but that one you could see Widow come out. But it's going to be really interesting to see what the second ban is. I feel like, though, we're going to see Nightmare lean back towards tanks a little bit more here because, again, just safe bans coming out of the gate.
Yeah, that is simply what we have been seeing very consistently on Control. I think that'll 100% remain the case here, as we'll find out momentarily what the situation is. I mean, all we know is right now is that first ban's out. It's that Lucio. We're heading over to Busan, but the other one is the Mauga, which, I mean, to be fair, a little while back, you would have told me could be a waste of a pick, but at this stage of the game, Mauga has been brought out a fair amount. It is honestly a alternative brawl tank that a lot of teams are starting to utilize. That's all I'm saying.
Yep. I did it again. But Mauga being banned out here, again, like I said, not necessarily a big shock. I think a lot of people really thought we'd be seeing a lot more Mauga this weekend, but I don't think we've seen Mauga really at all for the most part. Maybe one or two times.
There's been a couple.
But especially on a map like this, I feel like Mauga, outside of maybe downtown, does find a decent amount of value.
Yeah, no, 100%. We'll see what the situation is gonna be as they're rocking and rolling out here. Starting on downtown, as I'm curious to see what both squads will bring out here. This one does gonna open up towards the dive a little bit here, but AST Design, we knew them a lot from playing things like the D.Va, like the Ramatra, very consistent in that manner. Haven't seen Gap in a hot minute. I'm excited to see what they can do as we'll get out the gate to get things started. Onion also has come in. Little fun fact, I believe on this list, the only former Overwatch League player on the list actually played for the NYXL. Fun fact.
Nice. I believe Luke Mino also came in in that last second, taking the spot of Painkiller. But again, this is kind of what we expected. This is kind of what I expect to see from Nightmare. The Zarya kind of play style from them, really strong at the moment. On the other side, you're seeing Gap run that D.Va, and it's gonna be something where you're really looking at J-Man, you're really looking at Biz, whatever they swap off to outside of the Symmetra here, probably going over to a Tracer or an Echo. Or actually, no, I like this Soj from them, but you really need to help out here a lot. That DPS line there for Amplify to shut down ASC Design, because once you get charged up, you're really looking at Gap. It's almost a little bit of a sitting duck.
Yeah, Gap, by the way, just not caring at all, just diving up in there, putting out the high ground away. It makes things a little difficult, but Gap is eventually going to have to try to get out there alive. Fortunately, he is going to be taken out, knocked out of the mech. This should make this a really simple opening fight here to take if you are Nightmare, as they'll close this one out, take over the point, as Gap honestly might already rethink the tank selection.
Yeah, I would not be surprised to see a swap come out here from especially what you saw right there. And like I said, you need a lot of help from your DPS line here. And Gap, I think, did that really smart thing there in that first fight. They tried to get up to that high ground, force that backline into a spot where they were going to get caught out. But again, you really didn't see any fall up there from the rest of their team because the Zarya is able to take so much space up front here. And this is something we started to see a little bit more here. Do teams shoot the bubble or do teams not shoot the bubble? Right now, it seems like Amplify doesn't want to charge up ASC Design here that much. But in other regions like South America, Hunter, me and you really noticed that they don't care for the bubbles. They just pop them immediately.
Yeah, I mean, to be fair, we have seen it pretty consistently just in this last weekend, as UN gets rid of Rocket, by the way, is that teams will hit that concerning rush, and they will barrel down a Zarya. They do not care how many bubbles are there. They'll go for it, as Gap is going to eventually make that swap to the Ramatra.
Yeah, and this is what we always see, or what we're seeing a lot in OWCS this weekend, where Ramatra is getting a decent amount of bans because it really allows the Zarya to basically have free reign of the field. Now that Ramatra's back out here for Gap and Amplify, you're going to have to be very wary here of AS Design because they're going to have to be able to back out, but kind of Blast was invested by Lucamino. I believe onto Rocket, but I don't know how much value it really found. As a Consumer Rush comes out here, great Gap.
Yeah, Onion close to going down there. Lucamino in the same exact boat right now. Concerning Rush is available as they're hiding away. J-Man, unfortunately, gonna go down first and foremost. AC Design going down though does open up the door. Rocket though is hoping to clean out here. Rocket gets rid of another Chopper there happily to clean it up here. This DPS duo has been electric since they started playing together a couple years back.
Yeah, and I mean, AC Design falling there. I mean, you kind of saw it. Nightmare, even losing them there, they understood their situation there, and it was a little bit of a split kind of fight there for Amplify. They tried to take areas, to try to take space, but Nightmare just did everything right there to clean that one up. But you look at it here, Bob's ready for both sides. Ewan gonna have their title blast here, so that allows, I was gonna say, someone like Fizz to go in and play aggressively, but now they're not there. Both Bobs, though, gonna be shooting at each other here on court.
Yeah, Ewan, though, is also gonna have this title blast ready to go. Doesn't really get a whole lot. Rocket able to clear things out. Bob is being tamed. He's got, though, unfortunately, does not have anything left in the chamber. Grab is sitting by, likely just be popped, throw it all into Gap. 100-0 is going to be the name of the game to get things started. Nightmare starting exactly how you would hope from them, but Amplify, I mean, to be fair, they made their proper adjustments. They realized, hey, this isn't working. Let's change it up. And above all else, that is a good sign for the rest of the series.
Oh, absolutely. That's what I was going to say. When they made that swap over to the Ramatra, you saw Nightmare have to kind of respect it a little bit more. But then you also just started to see that DPS line for Nightmare really come back in and help out ASC Design a lot. Chopper, Rocket, or Rocket were really finding a lot more value. As you see there, 11-1 for Rocket. Well, Chopper, 4-0. Yeah, not necessarily a lot of kills there, but look at the damage they were able to pump in there. And Luke Mino has the most damage in the lobby.
Oh my god.
I mean, to be fair, that speaks to how good Luke Mino is, but also to the power of that Wu Yang. That Wu Yang is something incredible still.
But yeah, Wu Yang, I mean, we started to see Wu Yang kind of fall out of grace, maybe at top level play for a little bit here, but still, a lot of damage can come out from a lot of healing as well. But right now, if you're Amplify here, especially with AC Design now going over to D.Va, playing this Wreck Ball is not necessarily the worst thing here. You just need to be able to execute here as J-Man showing us the legs. Hunter, I didn't expect to see the legs here tonight.
To be fair, legs has been a thing in like regular comp pretty consistently for a hot minute, and it's made a couple of appearances from what I've seen as of late. And hey, it makes one here in the Master Division. J-Man, though, it could be potentially rethinking as Luke Mino, giving him a piece of his mind right there. But Onion is still getting really low. Gap could be keeping this one alive, but I think the stall is just going to be a little temporary as, yeah, eventually we'll get taken out. SC Design back over on that signature D.Va. As we'll see the cleanup, Ewan, though, is knocked out alive.
You can see it right now for Amplify, and you really want them to be able to find a little more value than what you're probably hoping they would here. But AC Design's able to eat up a lot of that damage, and now you're starting to see Nightmare play aggressively here. And especially with their comp here, I don't blame them. Play aggressive. You have tools to get out for basically everyone. Anya can TP, Luke Mino can just ride the wave out, Chopper and Rocket can get out pretty easily, and AC Design, they can eat any damage up here. But you look at Gap, get off the ball, go over to D.Va now. A little bit of a better swap here for them again, and they made that swap a little bit earlier this time. So I think we're going to see Amplify here, especially in this fight, kind of take a little bit of a step up, but they really need to find some sort of advantage here first. They need to get rid of someone here early.
Yeah, Luke Mino getting pushed back further and further. Does have that title blast ready. Fizz, though, gets hit eventually with that pulse bomb, but Chopper is hoping to clean things directly back up. Eventually has to run for the hills for a moment, but I think with Gap going to be demeched here momentarily. He's being credited by Keezy Cat momentarily, but momentarily is definitely the name of the game here. It's got to reset again.
Yeah, here's the thing, Gap, I think it's just running
yeah.
straight back. Nope, they're just going to go off the map. I think that's the right move there for them. 57% up to a bomb. Yeah, you do that there, you regroup, you just take the death. But you look now over at Nightmare. They invested that Pulse Bomb and the Title Blaster, but you have the Kitsune Rush, you have Overclock, you have your own remaking tool. So you can see Nightmare here really play aggressively, especially even though they know that Amplify is going to have really strong ultimates of their own in this fight. But if you're Nightmare, you can play aggressively because Amplify really hasn't been able to shut down this aggressiveness from you just yet.
They're not quite yet. Double Kitsune Rush will probably be, pretty quickly activated here. It's going to take one to go, and the other one will probably go direct afterwards. So you don't want to hold on to anything. Grizz Cat will let it go. Immediate response to Chopper. I'll try to cut people down. Eventually, we're going to see that tidal wave invested as well. J-Man going to basically run into the fire and the flames, unfortunately. Won't get any receipts out of it. Cleaner comes through. Ewan going to be able to stay alive, but it does not matter. As Nightmare starting strong here, and I mean, for Amplify again, they kept making adjustments, but I mean, Nightmare was shutting them down every single time.
Yeah, time after time. I mean, like I said there, Nightmare, they were starting to play really aggressive. And they weren't necessarily in the area to go touch spawn doors, but if they wanted to, they could have. There. And Hunter, we saw it earlier on in South America where the first map, the winning team had 2 members not die. We're seeing it here again in North America where Chopper and Onion did not die that round there. Chopper 9-0, but played great. Onion 7-0, got 5,000 healing, almost the most in the lobby right there. Again, that was a very quick round. If you look at the stats, it's very much one-sided, as both Rocket and ASC Design had over 10 elims. Those are the only 2 players in the entire lobby that were able to get double-digit elims. That's how fast that round really went there. But Amplify, again, you made the swaps there, and like you said, I thought they were the right swaps, going over to the Ramatra on point 1 and going to mirror that Diva on point 2, but it just didn't really work out for them, and that's the bad thing there. Amplify, they had their opportunities, but they struggled to find picks, as I mean, Biz, Ewan, and Gap had the most on their team, tied with 2.
Yeah, it wasn't the cleanest performance here. But again, we see teams be able to bounce back when they go through the proper ban channels where they figure things out and they decide, hey, let's streamline this a little bit more. Let's try to make this a little more simple and try to run it down with their own style. And I like what they've done here. They've gone for New Junk City, but not only that, but they get rid of the Zarya in this scenario. And Zarya has been a very high-picked tank as of late, so I like this selection right out the gate, and I like the fact they're going to force some kind of brawl here, which means I think this could be potentially forcing something like the Ramatra style, which into AST Design, who knows if that will be the best skull, but it is going to bring it more to the comfortability of Amplify.
Yeah, you definitely see Ramatra come out here now. Or, I mean, you have seen teams run dive here in the past. Winston's an option. Diva still definitely an option. Orisa could be something we see here. I don't think necessarily Orisa, because just, again, a little bit of a slow tank. Yeah, it does have a lot of sustainability, but I think right now you're starting to see a lot of teams not necessarily care enough about sustainability anymore, at least at the tank role, because the enemy team will just try to melt them as fast as they can, because it really does help you out very early on here. But right now, if you're Amplify, I mean, you struggle to get picks that last map there. Again, only 3 deaths combined for Nightmare in that first map there. You need to get something going here fast. Winning the first point, I feel like, gives you that confidence to get back into the series. Again, Amplify already won their first game of the season. This is Nightmare's first game of this season. I think they rescheduled the one they were supposed to play Wednesday to, I believe, tomorrow, I think. But if you're Amplify, you need to bounce back here. And for the second straight map, much like in South America, Hunter, we won't be seeing the Brazilian DJ.
No, we will not. And apparently, I mean, Overwatch just wants to throw hands with Lucio, apparently. That's what we've been seeing so consistently lately. But we'll get into this new Junk City map. Again, no Zarya, no Lucio. Which, to be fair, I mean, that's an excellent response from Nightmare in this scenario. And now with Solse coming in on the support category, we'll see what the response is, because, I mean, without the Lucio, if you want to go fast, your only, like, real option is Juno. You have the Wu Young, but Juno might be the main suspect.
Yeah, and I mean, we saw it there, that Wu Young was getting a lot of damage. I mean, Lucamino was playing it great in that first map there. And coming out of the gate, you see the Ramatra at least being teased by Nightmare. Gap showing us Jungle Queen. And Tang I didn't mention, but definitely one that I always kind of bring up when Flashpoint is played, because Jungle Queen's playstyle kind of fits Flashpoint almost perfectly here. But other than that, I mean, this Symmetra's probably going to swap over to something like Tracer, probably for both sides here. Biz, I can see going back over to something like a Soldier, because actually, no, the Venture's actually a really great pick here. I like this backline, honestly, though, for Amplify. Like you said, without Lucio, your only speed is Juno, and they still want to play this kind of rush playstyle, so having the speed ring there for Amplify could really help them out here. But ASC Design, like I mentioned before, has some sustainability there with that Nemesis form.
Yeah, and Cleanse has been expended right now. Onion just going to barely get out of there. We'll be able to stay alive. Solse in on that. Tracy getting started, but J-Man and Gap starting strong out the gate here, and ASC Design close to going down. Will eventually do so, and not only is that going to be them winning the first fight of the map, that is realistically the first fight win of the series so far.
That's the first fight win of the series, and they already have Nightmare have more deaths than they had in the entirety of the first map in the first fight. I mean, this is what I said that Amplify need to do. They need to try to just find the first advantage, up the tempo essentially. And that's exactly what they did. They bring out this kind of speed comp with the Juno, with that Junk Queen, and it works out perfectly for them. Biz on this venture, again, a lot of burst damage, and just being able to reposition people with that drill dash and the burrow is such a huge thing for them.
Yeah, Darren right now, AC Design is sitting kind of low, but you're going to see finish ups going left and right. You need to be able to get the shot onto Lucamino. Gap and Biz doing a whole lot of work. They might be able to get a free flip through, though. Biz is going to have to try to get the last second touch. It will come through, though, the flip. So now you see Onyun just going to hide away with Chopper as the flag gap let the flip come back.
The flip will come back out here for Amplify, but look at what Nightmare did here. Soulsay going over to the Mei now. This has been a pick that we've started to see a lot more, just to kind of slow down these speed comps. Ice Wall is still a very, very key ability, of maybe one of the strongest ones in the game, just for being able to reposition people. But now, if you Amplify, you have ultimates in this fight. You have this rally from Ewan here coming up early on, and honestly, if you want to fight early, like, that's a great pick right there. You could already have this first point in the bag.
Yeah, and that rally going to be expended here from Ewan, pushing everybody back. Overtime beginning to tick through. You still have a couple of touches, but ASC Design close to going down. Unfortunately, no one there in time with the ultimates, and after the first round locked in for Amplify, they're going to get this rocking and rolling. I mean, this Brick Juno working out brilliantly for them so far.
Yeah, the tempo difference, I think, has been the big thing here for Amplify. While Nightmare, I think they're still wanting to play this kind of methodically. I just think the fact they are a little bit of a slower comp here, where Chopper probably wants to play aggressive sliding in. They don't necessarily have that tool to get them out of dodge without that Diva or that Zarya there that we saw on that first map, but already almost be taken out by Biz. But you look over at Amplify here. They're going to have 4 really good ultimates to start out here. Well, yeah, there's going to be 4 ultimates for Nightmare as well. I just don't necessarily know if they're going to be able to have a good response.
Yeah, and right now, you're hoping if you're Gap right now, you get that cleanse out as soon as humanly possible. The moment that's out, you go for that. But Biz gets rid of Soulsay. And now Chopper is going to go for the investment point. Coming over momentarily, Jamin, though, gets taken care of and loses out on their own overclock here. Trying to run through, get rid of Gap, unfortunately, is going to get delayed in Nasty Design. Are they going to invest? 100% they are. This has been 4 ultimate thrown into the fight. And eventually, it looks like it's going to flip back. I mean, that's a big investment from both sides here, but importantly so, Gap, the sole ultimate left over.
All 4 ultimates for Nightmare there were invested. Yeah, like you mentioned, Gap, the only one not to use their ultimate in that fight that had it ready to go. Soulsay will have their Blizzard at some point in this fight, and that could be a big difference maker for them here. At least being able to at least section off and maybe push people for not Amplify where Nightmare wants them to be here. But Gap, this Rampage could be huge here for them. If it lands onto a couple people here, it could be a fight winner on its own, but you have Soulsay who can Ice Block to cleanse it. You have Onion there who can cleanse. I mean, you have the sustainability here on Nightmare to really not have to worry about this Rampage enough.
Oh, yeah, and you're going to see eventually just hunts down pretty much just solos Lucamino out of there. Chopper is eventually going to go down the result as well, and now you just have to run down ASD Design. Just surround them. Clean up shop here. You should be able to take back this point. Freeze, though, is going to be activated. ASD Design literally sitting on 1 health Gap. Everything thrown in. The hero comes in momentarily to keep them alive. Unfortunately, it's only going to do so much. J-Man finishing out shop right here is eventually going to help out with Biz. And J-Man and Biz have been heating up so far here on New Jump City.
Yeah, again, everyone for Amplify, let's just be honest, struggled map 1.
Yeah.
They win that first point here on this, in this map, and you start to see a little bit of a difference. They have that confidence to start to play with a little bit more tempo, and they are coming alive. We know J-Man, once they get hot, they are very hard to shut down, and Biz on this venture has really given Nightmare a lot of problems. But right now, Nightmare, they don't have any ultimates at the start of this fight, while Ewan is going to be able to have this rally ready to go here, and that could just stop an Nightmare fight here very early on, but you need to keep Gap alive, and they do a great job of that.
Yep, gonna expend out to do it, but now Continuing Rush is here. No response at the ready. Elsewise, Ewan pretty much just has to try to get out of there alive. On you hanging around. J-Man super low, eventually gonna get caught out here. See a chase from Gap here in the background. Unfortunately, Gap is going to inevitably fall. This point's gonna flip over, and it will fall into the hands of Nightmare, who's gonna tie it up. The bright side is there, you get the Continuing Rush out, but still, they're going with a pretty decent ult advantage out the gate.
I mean, but it was really a 1-for-1 trade. I mean, the rally came out there from Ewan, and it was just a late Kitsune Rush, which a lot of times when it's Kiriko v Kiriko, or there's that mirror, you always see the later Kitsune Rush normally comes out on top here, but the Kitsune Rush is just a very powerful ultimate at the moment. But you still look at Nightmare. Like you said, they're going to have the ultimates coming in this next fight to really give them advantage, but Amplify's not that far behind from their own Orbital Ray from Crazy Cat, which really could open up a lot, especially if you pair it up with J-Man's Overclock, because if they don't miss shots, oh my god, does Nightmare have to be worried.
100%, but now Crazy Cat might be able to work up to this ultimate. It's right around the corner as everybody getting low, everyone forced back. You might have to surrender this point, at least for the moment, as Crazy Cat gets caught. And now you just have to get out of here, take that reset, because it is going to be straight cleanup from here. And honestly, I mean, to be fair, be happy they're killing you as fast as they are. Reset comes through. Only Chopper invests in that situation, so it is going to be a 4-3 ult situation coming up here.
And you get Anya in there, but that's not necessarily the biggest problem. One person could just go back and essentially taxi Onion back here very quickly, because you do have to get that Kiriko back there. Kiriko's going to be very important in this fight, especially with a Rampage, a Tectonic Shock, an Overclock, and an Orbital Ray. I mean, that's a lot of damage that can be thrown at you. The Suzu could be something that really negates a lot of that here, but Solsei, that Blizzard, I think right now on the side of Nightmare is going to be huge for them, at least just at sectioning off Amplify, which I think is going to be the main goal of it.
Oh, no. Speaking of sectioning off, everyone going to be thrown in. No one, though, actually gets frozen. You're seeing the investment right there. Honestly, Gap honestly kind of need to do that to stay alive. And unfortunately, this is going to be everything in the kitchen sink being thrown out here. And to be fair, I mean, that is 4 ultimate thrown into that fight for what is eventually going to be 87% handed over. But to be fair, that's 3 ultimates out there from Nightmare too.
Yeah, 3 really good ultimates as well. And now Nightmare kind of behind the 8 ball a little bit with ultimates. Yeah, Choppa and Annen are, above 50%, but Ewan does have this rally, which will be very key in this next fight to keep their team alive. And Solsei almost falling there. That would have been a disaster start for Nightmare coming back in this one here, but Amplify did everything right there. They dodged the Blizzard. They didn't get split off like how Nightmare was really hoping for, or at least be able to find a freeze there, so it froze no one, but you lose your only ultimate lead. Oh, that's almost a worst case scenario here for Amplify, Hunter.
It has gone from almost to it is, and now all you can do is try to reset. Yeah, no, the problem is there's no one with like a great touch ability here. It's just gonna have to be J-Man who's got to throw their body on there to try to live, unfortunately. That's the pure extent of it. Unfortunately, it doesn't come through. You've got to take that reset, and that's you and just, I think, honestly, just getting caught too far forward.
I mean, everyone just dying now again. Nightmare happily will kill you there, and it looks like we're going to be heading to the Ducks for what could be our final point on this map here. But you look at Nightmare. They had no ultimates going in that fight, so they didn't have anything to invest. Now, because of how that fight went for them, they're going to have 3 really good ultimates, while you look at Amplify. Yeah, they're going to have 3 ultimates ready to go as well, but they're not going to be there first. Nightmare could throw the first punch here very early on. Suzu 40 out. That could give Gap the opening here to use the Rampage.
Yeah.
The ice fucked up!
Oh my god. That's so unfortunate. And nobody goes down as a result. J-Man, though, might have to be the hero. Remember, this overclock is more than ready to go, but Gap is gone. But after that, you might have some confidence on you being taken down. You need to try to hit somebody here, J-Man. ASU Design getting really low here. Eventually, Solsei gets hit with that Tidal Blast. J-Man gets rid of another. Needs to try to get rid of Chopper to bring this one back. Chopper gonna run for the hills. No much hell. ASU Design, though, has all the health in the world. Solsei also having a freeze ready. If you chase, Solsei is simply gonna, just drop that freeze. And they're going to go in. They're going to be frozen. That is a great play right there from Solsei. And that's going to bring this, honestly, 30% already on the fight territory.
Yeah, and I mean, going back to Gap's Rampage, getting completely blocked by an ice block is such a soul-crushing thing right there for Amplify, because again, you saw the Suzu come out, you had your opportunity, and if that ice block doesn't block it, that's 4 members of Nightmare being hit by that probably. That's an easy fight win there for Amplify, but an ice block of all things denies you there, and now you have an Orbital Ray and a Tectonic Shock. You have tools here, but you have to deal with this annihilation from ASC Design here, which I imagine if they can find a pick, they're gonna easily use it.
Yeah, and this thing looks like it's already gonna be cooked right here. All the ultimates that were available were either used or are still sitting in the spawn room, and no one left to touch. That is gonna be Nightmare and AST Design celebrating as they should. Up 2-0 now in the series, but that is a better fight back from Amplify. I think some really unfortunate situations of people being caught out a little too early, but that was much closer than our first map.
Oh, absolutely, a lot closer. Amplify really did step up, and again, they played that first point perfectly. The second point also at the start went their way. Remember, I was really thinking when Amplify capped that second point first, I was like, if Nightmare doesn't come back in here very quickly, this map's gonna get away from them very, very fast. I don't think it was gonna be something they could come back from, but Nightmare came in, they found the picks they needed, and I think a difference maker there for Nightmare was Solsei for a little bit, even though they really did struggle coming out of the gate on that Tracer. Even a little bit when they changed over to Mei, it took them a little bit to get the ball rolling, but that Mei really started to make a little bit of a difference there towards the end. Again, not necessarily getting in that kill feed, but again, just the ice wall, the ice block itself, I mean, might have been the play of the game there. I mentioned it, how Gap had that rampage ready to go. That ice block doesn't stop it. It hits the majority of Nightmare. I don't think they win that fight on that fourth point, which ended up being the thing that got them that first cap, and they never looked back from it.
No, they never did. They had no reason to ever look back from it either. Being able to bring it back like that and maintaining that level of consistency, that is what you expect out of this Nightmare squad. Because let's be real, while there are a lot of teams that come in here, and it's like we could talk about what they did the last couple of seasons, the Nightmare, this squad, this is a team that should come in here and should do a really good job. They have those expectations on them in this situation, and Amplify are fighting back hard. They are doing what they can. And now it's a situation where they have to try to bring this one back around. They started to bring it further their way, but they have to figure it out here now on Runasapi, as that's Amplify's choice, and also we'll see what their ban is here. In Dex, I still think there is a couple of really good options available.
There's a couple of really good options. I mean, again, I think you could look at the support line here. I think you can get rid of Kiri, potentially. I think that's a really safe one. Maybe even the Soj. I mean, yeah, both teams did play Soj there, and J-Man, I mean, did play a really, really good soldier. I mean, Soj, not soldier. But I think you almost have, like, DPS is a smart one. Support safe. If you want to really try to make a big swing, you go after tank here and ban out something. I don't know. You already banned out Zarya, especially going into a map like this, but you actually see Amplify banning out Ramatra. So Zarya is now back on the table here again, especially for Nightmare, who you remember played Zarya on that first point of Busan, and really that was a dominant point for them there. It could be something where you just see Nightmare come back out on the Zarya and stick with it throughout the entirety of Runasapi.
Yeah, they just might here, and it'll be really difficult to deal with if that ends up being the case. At the same time, this could be, I wouldn't want to say a protect ban, but you could use it also because it'll keep the ability of Gap being able to kind of keep their hero pool wide open, because Gap has been the one that has been making the majority of those swaps at tank to try to make different things happen, and some of it has had a level of success here. To be fair, the one thing I wouldn't be surprised of happening right now is if Gap decided to stay committed to the Junker Queen style, and you just see his transition back over to the Zarya when it comes to Nightmare. That's what I think is going to happen. However, I'm not an expert. Trust me, ladies and gentlemen. I know my stuff to a degree, but at this point, this early in the season, and this early in what is kind of becomes an established meta within this own division, it's got to be figured out over time.
Yeah, you have to remember Lucio now back here. Lucio was banned out the first two maps, so Lucio will probably be at least highlighted here a little bit. Probably, I would expect to see either Lucio and Kiriko, or Kiriko and Wu Yang. We've been seeing that basically exclusively from Nightmare throughout this entire series. Amplify as well, and I think Ewan actually played a really good Brig that last map as well. Just wasn't able to get really the result that you were hoping for there. I think a lot of the rallies, especially early on, were very, very key to Amplify winning a lot of those fights. Slowly started to fall off there towards the end as Nightmare started to get going, and the Ramatra for AST really started to take over the map, really kind of dominating or deciding where space was going to be given there for Amplify and Nightmare. But now heading into it, it's actually going to be the Juno that's banned out here. And again, this is a really smart ban here by Nightmare, because remember, that was something that Amplify played exclusively last map. So you get rid of that Juno here, no orbital ray, nor torpedoes, no speed ring. It forces you to play that Lucio if you want to try to play that kind of rushy brawl style that they were playing with that Junker Queen comp last map.
Yeah, 100%. Honestly, I like the decision overall here. I think Juno did have a lot of utility, honestly, for of Amplify. So I think it got some value, and taking care of it, honestly, you're fine with that. Because honestly, there were not a lot of like super great options in that situation. So I think that is definitely a reliable one to go to. But we'll see if it'll be the case or not, as Amplify, this is their last chance right here, heading over to Runasapi. This Runasapi map, which to be fair, we saw earlier get completed by this FA Overwatch squad. We'll see if Nightmare can replicate that success.
Yeah, and right now, look at Nightmare. It looks like Azrov coming in here for the first time this series. Going to be taking over for Solsei. And Rocket back in as well. A lot of swaps actually coming out here now for
right.
Nightmare. On the other yeah,
that's right, Dex.
So Zarya coming in here for Nightmare, kind of like how I mentioned. Zarya back on the table. You also do have you also have Lucio back on the table. Yeah, I think you're seeing why I paused there for a moment.
Just a moment.
Lucio back on the table, kind of like I expected both teams going to play it. No Juno forces Amplify. I'm not going to say force. I think this is going to be the idea for them to play the Lucio here with them, with this kind of rush style that they had. And again, this Junk Queen really did bring them a lot of success last map. And I think if you get it right here, you need to pop the bubbles though. I don't think you can let the bubbles just go. I think you kind of have to say, okay, hey, we're going to give ASC Design a lot of damage. We don't care. We have to pop these things.
Yeah, and you're going to see a big assassin out the gate here. Both bubbles are expended, so Gap can stay alive. A possibility is here, but ASD Design is starting to gather up all that charge. It honestly, is begging to be pulled in right now, and it's going to get every little bit of value right there. Rocket gets the better of Biz. Lucamino still hanging around, trying to support the squad best they can. ASD Design gets super low. Bubble has been expended. Eventually will be taken care of. J-Man inside a room with two people I would not want to be involved with, but eventually we'll get taken down. It's Azarov. Gets rid of two, gets the mega health pack. They should be able to stabilize because Gap is in a bit of a situation.
I mean, Gap's still alive here, though, and that could be a big difference maker here for Amplify. Nightmare's going to try to get the barrier push here, but they really can't do anything without ASC Design here, and now you're just going to be staggering yourselves out here a little bit more. You're going to have to give up some space here for Amplify, but Nightmare, they feel confident in their playstyle right now. Even down, Onion, they're going to try to keep this going, but they're going to have to give up some space here as they're going to wait for their Q to come back, because you already look, Rocket, Pulse Bomb, Onion, not that far away from a continuing rush here, so they can come back in with this Pulse Bomb and continuing rush and really play aggressively, try to force Amplify into a spot where they have to respond quickly. Yeah, Biz can have their own Pulse Bomb, but is that response going to be there? But oh, what a stick!
Yeah, lobs that one up into you and works out beautifully. Trade does come through though. Pulse Bomb comes through. Bubble and Cleanse there. So ASC Design, I don't think gets any of the charge off of that. Not too sure if that's how that works, but one thing I do know is that Crazy Cat has to consider rush around the corner as well. Is going to pop it. Biz and J-Man super low. J-Man will be taken care of. ASC Design is currently being burnt into right now, but Anyun is staying alive, hanging in there. Gap should eventually just be burnt away. 29 meters, all they're going to get for now is reset will come through here. Bright side is you get two really good ultimates on, and UN is going to have a beat around the corner for this grab from ASD Design.
Nightmare finally going to be able to get on the board here. Only took him about 2 minutes right there. And I mean, Biz is doing a lot in those first couple fights. They're finding that backline. They're able to really match Rocket for a decent amount of it here. But now you look at Amplify. They're going to have to give up the lead here, but you have Beat, you have Rampage, you have Overclock. However you look at Nightmare, they have essentially those same ultimates, but the grab is a little bit of a stronger ultimate right now, in my opinion, compared to that of the Rampage, because, I mean, the Beat from Lucamino can really just negate it all out here.
Yeah, 100% could right now. Lucamino, though, is in a bit of a rough scenario. Is currently being chased. The Kingdom Come, and there's the investment. B comes through. Gonna negate all that coming through. Ewan is still going to have a grab ready. Gets the... Oh, good sir! What is your motivation? Gets both in the air, killed, and now Point Cap comes through, and now Nightmare. They're gonna keep trucking forward.
It's our first Ajax of this season, Hunter. We're probably gonna see a lot more, but J-Man popping the overclock. It's just getting worse right now for Amplify. A Pulse Bomb comes out from Biz, and it doesn't find anything. If you're looking at Amplify here, you're hoping that there's some swaps coming in there with the uses of those ultimates, but no, J-Man sticking with the Soj. Biz and Ewan gonna be sticking with what they were playing here, and now Nightmare off the back of that. Horde spawns already. Overclock coming out here now from Azul as they try to find just an opener here in this fight, as Nightmare slowly pushing towards the final turn.
Yep, trying to get there. Remember, we saw how big of a lead was taken earlier today in South America. Same case is here now. Gap gets solo grab. It's kept alive momentarily, but all that work going to be for nothing as Casino Rush directly afterwards. Rocket getting a good finish. Azrael eventually does get taken care of, but everyone else is cleared off the planet, and now one fight territory, and this could potentially be it this early.
And you have to remember the bans coming out here. There was the Ramatra coming out from Amplify, and that was a really questionable one to me, because it was Nightmare that played Zarya on the first map and played it really well, and now Zarya is still being really strong. You can see Zarya how to play really good here. You see Gap now go over to mirror it. The death ball kind of play style that comes out with Zarya. Nightmare is executing it very, very well here. Rocket has Pulse Bomb ready to go here, but Kratescape will have their Kitsune Rush here. So if you're looking for Amplify to get back into this map here, you need to dodge the Pulse Bomb and hope this Kitsune Rush leads to an easy team fight victory.
Yeah, Pulse Bomb comes out. J-Man of all people getting caught. Unfortunate way to get things going is Biz is going to go and gets deleted on the spot. Kitsune Rush from Crazy Cat. Trying to get something. Ewan goes into aggress, hoping to find anything. Unfortunately, Azure might be the only casualty of this fight for Nightmare. They're going to be moving in, take that aggression. All of that charge as Lookimino finishes off Crazy Cat, and I think they're going to keep trucking forward.
Nightmare could all need to slow down here for a moment, wait for their one wall member to get back, but no, they're just going to keep going, and now Gap in a really, really bad spot. The bubble's just going to be melted away here as both of them gone, but Gap's still alive. The beat coming out, they want Gap dead.
They, more than anything, Rocket has gotten rid of 2 already, is helping clean things around, is able to get the hat trick here, and once again, they're trucking forward to the spawn rooms.
DPS line there for Nightmare, getting all 5 picks. Azurov coming in for the first map here, and it looks like they've been playing all 3 of them. Now we're into the final stretch here. Ewan does have beat here. They need to use this here now just to essentially stop Nightmare. Ewan's waiting for
it. You almost have to hold on to it, though. AC Design's about to have a grab, and there is literally no response. You saw Gap before. Gap, despite all the care, couldn't be kept up. J-Man, though, gets hit with the stick, and now here comes the speed. AC Design's probably gonna wait like 3 seconds and then grab, but here it is anyway. Everyone thrown in. Burnt to smithereens. J-Man, we hear you loud and clear. 20-player kill streak. AST Design and squad are gonna finish this one. A boop to the air for J-Man. It is Nightmare with the exact start they needed for this season. 3-0 over Amplify.
3 over Amplify, and especially after a map where Amplify looked a lot better. But once Nightmare figured out how to beat Amplify back on New Junk City, it seemed like they had control of the series again. And now you come here, like I kind of mentioned there, the ban of the Ramontra was one that, I mean, there's probably a really good reason why Amplify banned it out. But it really allowed ASC Design to go back to playing that Zarya that really dominated that first point there on Busan. And they dominate throughout this entire map. 1 death, 20 elims, Hunter. So that 20 kill streak they got was all on 1 life there for him. Amplify, again, kind of fell back into that kind of play that we saw back on that first map where they were struggling to find anything there. I think with more time, that swap there from Gap over to the Zarya would have worked out a little bit better, but it might have been a little bit too late for it there. But still, I mean, again, this is a really, really tough matchup for Amplify. Nightmare, again, a lot of great talent on this team, OWCS talent. So this not necessarily the result you were probably hoping for. If you're Amplify, you're probably looking to put up a little bit more of a fight, but at least you got them out of the way early on in the season. You can now focus on some of the other tougher teams here. As Amplify themselves, they got to win their first game. I still think they're going to be a really improved team over what they were last season, but Nightmare right now is probably looked at as potentially the favorite in this Masters tier.
Yeah, it's really hard not to view it that way. And obviously, we'll see how they go up against the other, I mean, really great teams that exist down here. Some of those really tough teams, honestly, they're not going to get until the very end of the season. I mean, their last 3 games are Dreamland, Extinction, and Shikigami. 3 teams that you could reasonably talk about putting in a top 5 situation. That's how well these players have performed, not just last season, but over the course of their careers. But to be fair, they do have a couple of tests out the gate. After this, they have Emote down mid and Boot Troop coming up here. So those are both, honestly, teams that have performed very well in the past. Boot Troop had the Cinderella run last season. We're going to see if they can duplicate it or not. As for Amplify, does the story get any easier for them? It might. In Control, which didn't have the best season, but remember, In Control had like an end game where they won like the last 4 of their 5 games, stayed out of relegation, managed to get back into this Master season. It is a solid team, and that should be a potential bounce back for Amplify.
Yeah, again, Amplify, they have the players there, I really think, to have a little bit of a run here, be one of these competitive teams. But I think going up against Nightmare this early on, as you're still trying to build that chemistry, even though a lot of these players have been on teams in the past, are on the same teams in the past, I think going up against a team like Nightmare, who, again, everyone, I believe we saw all 8 players for Nightmare tonight. Actually, no, we did not see Painkiller. Painkiller was the only one we did not see from Nightmare here tonight. But again, this Nightmare team, really good on paper. I mean, a lot of great players on it. A great coach there in Capology as well, or Capology. I mean, just good. This is always going to be a tough matchup for anyone, even those teams that were like the Dreamlands, like the Boob Troops, like Emote Down Mid. Those are all going to be tough challenges for Nightmare, but I still would favor them a lot in those matchups.
No, I 100% would as well. So we'll see if they can keep this level of success going. But obviously, ladies and gentlemen, this is just the first week of Faceit League this season. And of course, it's a very limited week because, again, OWCS, lots of teams scheduled their games either later into this weekend or into next week. So things are going to be very bulky the next week or two coming up here. Obviously, we don't know quite yet what that schedule is going to look like. But as soon as it is, it's obviously going to be found on our Twitter, which is occasionally getting posted in the chat. So obviously, if you want it, it is there for the taking. With that being said, Dex, it's a bit of a quick night for us here, but we have our first double feature, our first Friday night Faceit. I am happy as can be. So y'all have yourselves a fantastic night. Please enjoy the rest of DreamHack Stockholm in OWCS Finals. And hey, next time, join us for some more Faceit League action. Take care.